Thought I would post a video. I had not intended to buy this small box of the Horus Heresy, the 30K. Um, Full disclaimer: I'm a huge fan of the Horus Heresy novels, um, and have been for several years. And I've always told myself that if I ever had the opportunity to play in the Horus Heresy style games, that I'd prefer to do that. And I find the 40K stuff okay, but I guess I'm driven more by the lore than I am the actual gameplay. So I identify more with or I like the lore better in the Heresy than I do in the 40K stuff. So to each his own, I guess, and what drives us is, what drives us. But anyway, I picked this up, and then it got me thinking. It's like, okay, I've been seeing a lot of folks lately talking about basing, which to me is kind of miniature building 101. So I'll take a couple minutes and go over a couple of my preference, or a couple of things that I do on when I base models. Okay, there's 4 million plus videos on how to sculpt bases and all that, and I'm not going to do that. That's whipping the horse that's been dead forever and a day, and it just, to me, it's kind of redundant. Now, if there's interest and somebody and folks want to see that, then sure, let me know. But my inclination right now is not to do that. So I just want to go over a couple points, or a couple things that I think a lot of people may not think about, and or have misgivings about using, like PVA. My wife got me. She calls it a personality mug. We were up in the mountains up in a little place called Leavenworth, Washington, a couple days ago, and we were in one shop and we found these, and she's like, "This is you right here all day." Excuse me here. So there's a pretty wide range of basing material that you can use. The ones that I most commonly use are either the birch or wooden bases, which I've become more and more of a fan of these. Doesn't have, to me, as a pronounced of a profile as the plastic bases do. The plastic bases are, they're nice in their own way. They've got, there's a lot to be said for the plastic bases. They're lightweight, of course. I do like the heft, or there's a little bit of a heft to the birch bases. Again, it comes down to preference. I do find that I use PVA on either one of these. PVA plus my basing material of choice, whether it be flock or sand or cork, ground cork or whatever, works really well. Now, one of the things I have seen is folks using, they will lay down a layer of thin glue on the plastic, and then they'll come in with the basing material like baking soda, right? That's that's a whole video in itself for this stuff. But they'll use baking soda, put that down, and it'll clump up. Now let me show you a little bit. I don't like using this stuff very much because you have to use kind of a thin coat to seal everything in. I like to use a little thicker. That's not even ready. There's a couple schools of thought about this too, whether you do the bases before you put the miniatures on, or I've always done my bases with the miniatures already on them, because that's just the way I've always done it. I can't say it's as good a way to do it or not, but that's just the way I've always done it. And this old dog is not going to be changing. So I would recommend you get something thick like this, like a thicker gel, and take a toothpick or popsicle stick or something and spread it around on this stuff right here. And I'm just using this nozzle right now because, as always, I'm underprepared for doing a video. Just got back in town. Actually, wife and I went up the road to Bellingham, and we're running around up there and just kind of doing old married people things. Actually, I went along for the ride. So with this, you can use. Now I got a good layer of the gel down, and then you can come in with a little bit of baking soda, just like this. And that stuff clumps up pretty well. And if you're OCD about scale, this tends to be better scale for ground cover than if you use like the sharp sand, like this stuff right here. I personally could care less one way or the other as long as it looks good. That's the only thing I give a shit about. Yeah. And now what a lot of folks do is they'll come back in and they'll use either a thin, and this is where I get in trouble, they'll use a thin super glue to go over top of it. And I've used the drop method, and I've ended up gluing my fingers to the damn base so many times. You can use, this seems to give you a little better control. I don't do this very much because I don't care for it. That's, again, just personal preference, but this is one method you can do if you want. Plus, I don't like the fumes. That's honestly probably the biggest thing. I try and keep my exposure to any type of really aggressive fumes and stuff down to a minimum. And but on the plus side, this stuff is now rock solid, and you know, once it finishes curing all the way, this stuff is rock solid, and that won't come off there without a bit of effort. So that's one of the benefits of this. PVA on this works really well. I have used PVA on plastic like this, like on this guy here, and these are all done with PVA on the bases. I've got a whole battalion of these guys, a couple battalions of these guys done up like that, and they work out really well. I have heard some people say, you know, the PVA on the plastic, you know, it'll scrape off. Well, yeah, if you're sitting there manhandling and scraping on them, probably. But I also go back, I don't do just the one layer PVA, I'll hit it with a little bit of IPA alcohol, the isopropyl alcohol, hit it with that. That's just like I'm doing scenery. Once it's cured, spritz it with a little bit of IPA, cut the water the surface tension down, and then come in with a thin down water. With the thin down water, the thin down PVA, and put that over top. And once that dries, then that's nice and solid. You know, is it rock solid like this? No, but it'll hold up really well. And another thing you can do with the plastic base, aside from these materials, is you can use a pre-made material like this stuff here. This is Vallejo. This is their texture stuff. Nice thing is about using something like this is consistency. If I want all my bases to look the same way all across all the models in, say, an Army, I use a pot of this, and I guarantee that I will be consistent, have the same texture, the same everything on those. You know, making sure, of course, that I put on the same amount on all of them, but the consistency all the way across is what I'm looking for. So that's a benefit of these. This little feller here, this little night goblin, he has a combination. While the base, or he was already mounted on the base. It's got a plastic base. I put down a little bit of this textured earth, and then went in with some flocking. And this is just a tub of various types of flock that I've just kind of just, when I've done a project, I've just had extra, so I just throw it all in the same pot, and it works. I use it for troops and stuff. So, and I even labeled it troop flocking. But yeah, this works out really, really well. The nice thing about the Vallejo product is that once it cures, that stuff is rock solid. I don't care if you put it on plastic or put it on the wood. Those things that's not coming off anytime soon. So that's something to consider. That's one of the benefits I like of this. If you're watching your money, and dropping $10 on a pot of this is not reasonable, you can put yourself together like I did here with this. This is a mixture of spackle, PVA glue, a little bit of water, some sharp sand, or and what I use is it's atrium sand, and or just a very, very fine sand that's been sieved, and add in some burnt umber color, some burnt umber paint, and mix that all together. I don't have an exact ratio for that. I just play with it until I like the consistency of it, where it spreads and covers well. And I did this on a wooden base. I have used this stuff on a plastic base, and it seemed to cover just as well with that as well. Jesus. I'm having talking issues today. But anyway, so yeah, that's another thing you can. And with this, you can play with this, of course. I have done it to where I used that as my base, and then I came in and put in some other Vallejo things. Mud and grass is what I used on here. But this, and then that, but this stuff is solid. I mean, this thing ain't coming off at all. And that's just, it's good stuff. But anyway, that's just kind of what I want to touch on this time. If you have any questions or comments, throw them in the comment section below, and do my best to answer them as quick as I can.